Give me a minute, Gary. Give me 2 minutes to make my point.
No,
Okay.
no, you're boring.
Oh, come on. I'm not that boring.
That's like a half hour in internet time.
But go ahead, let him finish. Apparently he has some further point he wants to make about how men are put at ease by a woman's voice. Go ahead, let's hear the theory.
That wasn't the point I was going to make. That was just the antechamber to the point I was going to make. What they found is that female pilots are actually much better at multitasking and piloting, whether it's a C-147 or whatever, F-15. It requires a lot of multitasking. What they found is that female pilots were much better at it than male pilots because they excelled at multitasking for whatever reason, genetic evolution, whatever. I'm not going to speculate on that. So this is studies done by the U.S. Navy. So just wanted to throw that in
much better is a really tricky term. First off, okay, much better isn't really scientific. So I guess I'd have to see these performance things, and overall, what is the overall performance record of real combat, and that's another test. And so maybe women fail a little bit when the real rubber's hitting the real fucking road.
Okay, well that's a good point, and that's part 2 of my statement, which is women tend to perform far inferior to men in bloody combat situations. Trench warfare, the guy diving on the hand grenade to save his buddies from the hand grenade, charging the machine gun nest, whatever, what have you, storming the beaches at Omaha Beach. Women tend to perform much better. So there's specific roles in the military where women do quite well, and there's specific roles where they don't do so well. So,
like I said, I just don't like this much better, blah blah blah. I mean, I think there's individuals that can excel at all kinds of things, and the women who tend to be in the military I'm just saying that, just as you have this much better thing, I could make the same argument that if they tested the testosterone in those women, they'd find out that they had, like, one of their ovaries was actually so I mean, maybe the whole theory goes to hell because these women aren't really, regular women. They're not the average woman. Just as the average male in the military isn't the average man.
Okay, well, I don't know. I'm repeating myself here, but to go back to centrifuge tests, which were conducted with male pilots, what they discovered is as they were exposed to like 6, 7, 8, 9 Gs, the blackout point, most men tended to respond and activate quicker to a female voice than a male voice. That might not be neither here nor there, but I guess I'm just trying to, I don't know.
Well, I just think that's just common sense. I mean, most cars that have talking voices have female voices. Men I don't listen to any male singers, okay? I listen to female singers. But let's not get into this stupid
argument. Actually, I'd like to get into
this
stupid argument. Studies have shown that all human beings, not just men, seem to interpret higher or female voices with the emotional portion of their brain rather than the analytical one, so it generates a nearly instantaneous response. Whereas they hear a deep voice or a masculine voice, it takes a little bit longer for them to actually process what's being inputted. It doesn't generate the same instant kind of visceral emotional response that a woman's voice.
Well, it might have to do with the frequency,
Gary,
too. It might have to do... let me just say it, okay? It might just have to do with exactly that, frequency. Okay, and the higher the frequency, the brain is reacting to the faster stimulation, and a lower frequency voice is going to slow it down because it's the frequency is creating the impetus for the reaction time. So a higher frequency, the brain reacts quicker because of the actual frequency, because it is a higher frequency. But go ahead.
Sorry, I forgot an important half of the study. To what Gambrinus was saying, whether it's well, the Navy came to the exact same conclusion. They said, well, What if it's just our male pilots responding to a female voice? What if we subjected the female pilots to the same voice? And what they found is it was exactly the same. Both the male and female pilots responded. I mean, I don't know what the correlation was, but it was a far higher reaction rate to the female voice than the male voice.
Fascinating, just incredibly fascinating. I'm being sarcastic.
No.
I mean, who the fuck cares? What? So we're demonstrating that there's differences between men and women, and that there's some things that there's not differences. They just have to do with some other mechanics of how we function. Okay, big fucking deal. I just don't, whatever. Fine. What? What? What does this mean? How do I take this information and do something useful with it neurologically?
Well, I thought you would be the one to understand this. There's something about the female voice of the female.
No, there's something about a high-pitched voice, and there's something about the fact that most women are basically lesbians. We can go into that whole conversation too. But yeah, women react differently to men than men react to women in the first place. And the fact that a woman's voice would be appealing to both men and women might have a completely genetic, understandable reality, because women hung out together, okay? And men usually played these roguey kind of roles, and, harems, all that kind of stuff is part of the natural order. And that's the history we came from. So maybe it's all part of that even. But again, who the fuck cares? What does this mean? What is it? What use is this information?
I don't know. I mean, we got off in male-female relations in the military, and whether women should be admitted to the military. I may have drug us far afield. Sorry if I did. What was the original point?
Well, exactly. I think the original point had some value in that people have jobs to do and they can be distracted in that performance of those duties. And that seems a simple enough argument, and it didn't really need to get into all this nuancy bullshit about, well, if you raise a girl with a gun when she's 5 years old, and she's more likely to want to go shoot somebody when she's 40. Whatever, fine. Who cares?
It's not like this is even that important. We're probably going to be fighting most of our wars with robots in 50 years, so whatever.
Whoever's best at video games, and women kind of suck at video games, so we can go that. Let's do that survey. Let's see how women do overall on their performance in single shooter games.
Yes, and we all know how advanced and sympathetic and empathetic 16 to 18-year-old boys who play video games are with respect to the human race. So I look forward to the day when they are in charge of Skynet. That's going to be a good day for humanity.
Well, it's not a point about who's in charge of something. It's just the point to be made is that the military is going to run on performance. All right, and yeah, performance in the future isn't going to have anything to do with sitting in your trench and throwing Molotov cocktails at the enemy. Okay, it's going to have to do with you sitting in a fucking Barca lounger, 6 miles underground, whipping out your joystick and wiping out the enemy.
Yeah, I kind of think you missed my point on that one, Gary, but whatever. I mean, look at the you yourself have pointed out. Look at the demographic of the
if you don't have anything else to
of
do
the
with
chat
your
rooms
life.
that are on Stickam. All right, sorry. Go ahead, Gambrinus.
It's interesting you bring up unmanned drones, Blake. Has anyone actually looked at the figures of the disproportionate suicide rates among those who pilot unmanned drones in contrast to those who serve in other avenues in the military?
I mean, this is based on what? This is based on how many fucking people were surveyed in this, and so how much of this margin of error and all this. Who cares again, though? Who the fuck cares? Oh, so So, yeah, there was a higher suicide rate among the pilots who flew at 40,000 feet and blew up the enemy, and pilots who flew at 10,000 feet and blew up the enemy. Is that going to be the theory, that the more detached you are from your killing, that somehow you get a guilt complex or something? Who the fuck cares? The military doesn't give a fuck. It doesn't give a fuck if 100 soldiers blows their brains out. Who the fuck cares?
I'm not so sure I follow that train of logic.
I'm just saying, what runs the world and what soldiers do is just two different fucking things, okay? Politics runs the world, and you have to deal with that as a separate, completely separate. I mean, the military does not run the world, okay? Politics runs the world.
Yeah, but I think
it's quite that simple. After psychologists analyze it,
Can I go, Camp? I think what we're talking about is a science fiction concept of the 16 to 20-year-old boy who's grown up playing video games, dropping 2,000 bombs on brown-skinned people in Afghanistan or Pakistan or wherever.
What if the software creates an interpreter for him, and so in his software he isn't killing brown people in Afghanistan, he's killing three-eyed cyborgy monsters or something. I mean, the software can interpret and change his environment, so he could end up being a Matrix thing, okay? He could be playing one game on his little computer, and he's playing a whole different game as Mr. Drone in the real world.
It's a very good point.
But what I'm talking about is empathy, Gary. What I'm talking about is empathy. The fact that
well, fuck empathy. This is not about goddamn empathy. You want to talk about empathy as terms of human race and politics and general population, that's fine. But military soldiers aren't supposed to fucking have empathy. They're supposed to do their fucking job, which is kill the other fucker.
But that's the fucking problem, Gary.
Who the fuck, if I was running the military, as soon as an asshole said the word empathy, I'd kick him out of the military. I'd say, fuck you. You don't know that fucking word. There's no mercy. There's no empathy. Just kill those fuckers.
That's a problem, Gary. When you're in a combat situation, you're very emotionally invested because there's a threat of death. When you're in an unmanned drone, there is no threat of death. And essentially, you're killing other people. When it comes down to it, that's what you're doing. You are killing other people. And since there's no threat of losing your life, you're not going to be emotionally attached to your drone or the loss of your drone.
Well, nobody launching cruise missiles from a submarine is a threat anymore. They're not going to get blown out of the water by the Iranian submarine fleet. They're under no fucking threat. And who cares? Again, who cares? That's a psychological liability of being in the military as your profession. All right, if you're not prepared to kill people, then you shouldn't have the fucking job. I mean, the fact that we've let a bunch of people get into the military as a career move and to get an education, well, that's a canard and a lie. Okay, I mean, yeah, so people are both, the military is using people and people are using the military. So, yeah, there's a lot of people in the military who shouldn't be in the fucking military because they have no desire to do what it requires you to do to be a fucking soldier.
So, were the Nazis who followed Hitler's commands morally blameless in what they did?
Well, I think they were. To tell you the fucking honest goddamn truth, to the most respect, I don't think they knew anything about the Jews. I don't think they knew anything about anything. All they knew about was the fact that they were defending their vision of the future for the human race, and they were out there fighting for it, okay? Yeah, they were soldiers fighting, and they were fighting even under a more draconian honor code than we live under, or our soldiers were fighting under, okay? So they were obligated in a sense. They were, this is my life. I'm a soldier now. And, if I'm not a soldier, I'm a dead man.
I'm not even really sure where to tie into this conversation, but, people, they're constantly going back to the Nazis. Hitler, Nazi, Hitler, Nazi, Hitler, Nazi. The Nazis only lasted 12 years in the 20th century. And I mean, there are many hegemonic regimes and institutions that have lasted far, far longer than that. Want me to name one? Okay.